So in this case, what I've done is I've basically created a way for us to create a TPS cover sheet on the web so that we avoid any of these issues with the TPS cover sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and run this as it is so that we can see how this works. And then what we're going to do is we're going to convert the JavaScript that I built. We'll convert it over to TypeScript, and we'll see some of the errors that you get and walk through kind of the process of doing TypeScript development. So let's bring this up first. I just want to show you. It's nothing real fancy, but it helps if we see it first. So this is just your typical MVC ASP.NET application. Come on. I had to fire up IIS there. It's taking a little bit. And so basically all this does is it uses two different concepts for doing this application. One is it uses just MVC as it normally is using C#, but then it also uses Kendo UI and their framework for Mvvm so that you can actually do all these calls and do all your data client side using JavaScript. If it ever comes up. She fired it up earlier. It says I got 2 errors, but it's still trying to bring it up. There it is, finally. Okay, go ahead and log in here.
Does Kendo UI automatically pull in jQuery?
So the question is, does Kendo UI automatically pull in jQuery? And yes, it pulls in the version it needs of jQuery. It does. So I think they're on an older version than what comes out of the box with MVC. But I think they're trying to get up to the latest version as quickly as possible. Okay, so here's my just a quick little form to fill out my TPS report. And the whole point of this is I actually did this demo for a Kendo UI Mvvm talk that I did. And so the whole idea is that you can see the two-way data binding. When I type Ben in there, it automatically shows up here without me having to do any magic to make it do that. So that's what Kendo and the Mvvm stuff provides for you, is that two-way binding and then also notification when things change back to the UI. So anyway, just a way to fill out the common things that go on a TPS report. And then I don't know if I have any. I may not have any created right now. So I don't have any right now. So we'll create one here in a. Oh, there they come. We'll create a different one, another one here shortly. So anyways, that's just the standard app. So let's see how it's kind of working now, and then we'll convert it over to TypeScript. So I've got a couple interesting things here. So first of all, my TPS cover sheet is just basic data. It's nothing real fancy. So it's just prepared by, and notice I've got all these variables right now set up, and I'm just setting them to null. So if you were coming in here, you would have no idea, is vendor supposed to be a string, or maybe it's the vendor ID. There's different things in here that you're not sure, like date. Am I expecting a date object, or am I expecting a string format of some kind for the date? So there's no way to really tell what these things are at this point in the normal JavaScript. And then I also have my Mvvm here, which doesn't do a whole lot other than it exposes a current TPS cover sheet, and then it basically exposes 2 methods, which is the one to save and the one to fill the list, to fill up the list that we saw of cover sheets. And right now they're just calling back to my MVC controllers to get JSON back and forth. So again, this is all client side. Once you get it up, all it's really passing back and forth are JSON objects. And so the real magic that Kendo provides is just this Kendo.observable collection, which again handles all that data binding and notification stuff for us. So if you're interested in Kendo UI, we can talk about that after. But it does do some pretty interesting stuff as far as data binding for you. So let's see, if I wanted to create and kind of move this over to TypeScript, how would I do that? So before I get into that, the first thing you need to do is get the tools. So if you go to Tools and you go to your extensions and updates, and installed, you should have TypeScript in here somewhere, I hope. Let's see, maybe I don't have it. I might not have it on this machine. If so, then I'll have to install it real quick. But you can just type in TypeScript. I thought you could anyways. Well, let's see if it's on here, because maybe you have to get it from the website, but I thought you could get it from the extension manager as well. But let's just see if I try to add a new item here. And we'll go web. We'll type. There it is. So I do have it installed. So I think you need to install it from the website for now. It hasn't officially been released, and we'll look at that here in a second as well, as far as what's the roadmap for TypeScript and when it's going to be kind of out of beta mode. So we'll call this TPS cover sheet TS for TypeScript. Whoops, too many caps in there. TPS cover sheet TS. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add that. And then the other thing that I do have installed are the what's called the Web Essentials for Visual Studio. And what Web Essentials do is they give you this extra frame over here, so that not only can you see your TypeScript, but you can also see the JavaScript that's going to spit out for you as well, right next to it. So every time I save this, it actually recompiles it down to the JavaScript that you need to use. So, and when you create a new TS file, it automatically gives you some of the, at least a template that you can use to do some of this stuff. So if we notice here, again, so this is creating a module that is shapes. It's creating a point, and it's exporting that class. And so if you look down here, I'm saying new shape points, and I'm passing in a 3 and a 4 because it's expecting 2 numbers. So if I come in here and I change this, say like that, and click off of it, now notice I've got this little red squiggly here that tells me I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not passing it what I'm supposed to be passing it. And then if I go ahead and save this, then you'll notice my over here will change, and it actually gives me that compilation error, and it tells me, if I move this over a little bit, it tells me what line it's on and what was the issue with what I was just doing. So again, in the normal world, and let's say shape was in another file, I didn't know what it was expecting, and I tried to pass into strings, JavaScript would just run with that. And in the case of a string, it would probably work. But there are certain areas where that may not work, depending on what operation it was trying to do on those particular objects. So that's kind of the initial power of TypeScript. So what I want to do is let's create a module for my models first. So we don't really need an interface. Well, let's call this TPS cover sheet models. So we'll create a model, and then instead of point, we're going to call it whatever. What do we call this guy? We just call it a TPS cover sheet. So we're just going to stick with the same naming. So we're going to create this class. It doesn't implement anything at this point. So let's just get rid of that. And then I'm just going to copy over what I have in here, and then we'll see what TypeScript thinks about it. So now notice it doesn't like the fact that I'm using this var self anymore, because that's the other thing that TypeScript does, is it kind of handles this concept of this for you. It's a hard concept for a lot of C# programmers to understand, that this isn't necessarily this object. So sometimes this could be the object you got back from the browser, or it can change context on you very quickly and cause issues. So TypeScript takes care of that for us. So we really don't need the this anymore. And then I'm going to use the handy Alt select here, get rid of that from the front. And that's pretty much it. So now I have my module and my TPS cover sheet encapsulated inside of TypeScript. And whenever I save it, and this is the interesting part, whenever you do a save and then you look at the JavaScript that it spit out, that to me is where it gets interesting, because look at this. I mean, to me anyways, the left-hand side of the screen looks a lot cleaner than the actual JavaScript over here. And it's using basically the encapsulation of a function and a variable to handle the creation of the object. And we don't have a constructor. We certainly could create one if we wanted to, and do some different things with that object. But the way it is now is just fine.